So talk to me, man. What you been up to? What's been going on? How you
Oh
been?
man.
Thank you, by the way, before you start, thank you so much for inviting me to the Real Man's Chat, or I should say, dudes that keep it real with themselves. I was kind of new to it, so I think my mic was on. You had to turn me off. I was a little hot.
Yeah.
I came in with a hot mic, but it was great to hear not only the thought process of more mature gentlemen, but also to see some young kids in there too.
Yeah, let me give a background on that. So on Saturday mornings, about a year and a half ago, you know how we used to hang out on Friday nights and hang out a little too late, and then your Saturdays are gone. So
Come on.
I told myself, look, stop staying out so late on Friday and get up early on Saturday and put in some work. So I reached out to my circle of people and I said, I'm going to go down to the little coffee shop down in Little Italy about 9 o'clock. I'm going to do work. And if you want to drag off my energy and we can do work together, then we'll do work together. And it ended up being around 10 guys on a Saturday morning before COVID that would go down and just talk about what projects they're working on, what they're figuring out, what they haven't figured out yet, and just what's working well. So we just started that, and then we got it up to about 20 people. By the time COVID hit, we switched it over to video, and then it went to 30, 35, and then it's kind of chimed down back into the 15, 20s. But every Saturday it's a space for men to just open up and share about their everyday life, their work, their love life, and what they're playing. And I mean playing like having fun with. So it's pretty cool. And I call it the Men's Saturday Circle.
That's awesome. You know, it's so funny. In the journey post COVID and during COVID, something that I came across was because a large part of when you spoke to me about it was about people being honest with themselves, right? And especially guys, and the way things are kind of shaping. I don't seem like that. That seems to be the trend in the sense of the conversation being geared that way. But I decided to do something even a little bit more potent. And you know, you could speak to this a little bit, and you let me know. It was the same thing, like you said. We would get smacked on Friday, right? And then Saturday was blown. But for me, I was getting smacked on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So what I came to the realization was, man, is I just turned 40, right? And maybe wisdom starts to come as you get older. I mean, that's supposedly the way, the word on the
I'm
street.
50, so I'm gonna tell you, every new decade you get another iteration. Just think of yourself as an app. When's the last time you looked at an app that wasn't updated a week ago, a
Right,
year ago? So you're an app. You're just you know what your version is? 4.0,
right. So with the 4.0 version, I
right?
told myself, well, if I'm doing all of this, how much work am I really getting done? So I decided to take it upon myself to stop drinking and
Mm-hmm.
to stop smoking bud. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been going strong for 4 weeks. And then I decided to challenge myself further. And I said, okay, you seem clearer. The thought process is bubbling up better. Why don't you try the whole year? So right now, from this point, I'm going to try to tackle being sober for the rest of the year and see how much I can actually get done without having to worry about managing those hangovers the following day.
All right, so I'm going to give you a tip. So you know me, I pay a lot of money. I restate, I invest a lot of money in me. And there is a program called Made For, and it's from the co-founder of Tom Shoes. And he had this idea that said, what if I sent a box once a month with a habit that you would do for 21 days and see if you could create a new habit every month. And by the end of a year, you have 12, or no, end of 10 months, you have 10 new habits. I bring that to your attention because every month, and I'm in the 10th month right now, every month it's a new habit. Like right now, I have this hourglass, and this hourglass was for meditation. I've got, if I look around, I have a water bottle because there was a water challenge for the month, and you would drink 6 bottles of water a day, or however many your body's supposed to have, and then you would journal at the end of the day, and you would journal, how does my body feel with this new water, this new hydration? How clears my head? How How mobile am I? How are my relationships? And it was getting you in the mindset of being present of what this habit is giving you. So I would state this for you as well. As you continue to experiment, write down in a journal every day or every couple days, how do I feel? You know, how is it, how do I feel? How are my relationships? How's my business? How's all that? And you might be able to notice the learnings of it. And matter of fact, you'll be able to share the learnings even easier because you have a journal.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to start trending in that fashion. I think it's important to continue to challenge yourself. I think now passing the 21-day mark, I have created a new habit. And so now I don't want to just rest my laurels. I want to dig in further.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got a couple more things. I know I did say that you were going to steer most of this
No,
conversation.
go ahead. This is
Right.
flow. Just
Yeah,
go
right.
ahead.
Of course. So my first one is a little left. I wanted to get your thoughts on, because we're talking about honesty, and right now a buzzword or a buzz phrase that's happening a lot is male toxicity, right? And I was watching, I think it was called The Morning Show. I'm not sure, but it's an Apple
Okay.
TV show. And it's about guys in power taking advantage of their situations with the female staffers, right? I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to gather your thoughts on is Deshaun Watson's situation an allusion to us or an allusion to him? Because through the
Oh.
this guy was looked at as had a great um, presence to everybody. We thought that he was all good, but as these stories start to unfold, it almost sounds Bill Cosby-ish. And keeping in the same vein of what we're talking about, men being honest, I just wonder where that is now.
All right. So I love that you brought the topic up because I've just been talking a lot about this week. And the word that shows up is relationship and relationship to. So relationship to women, relationship to sex, relationship to my ego, relationship to wanting to be esteemed by the world. So if we look at Deshaun Watson, we don't know what his relationship is to women. We don't know what his relationship is to sex. We don't know what his relationship is to ego. So those three are a cocktail for disaster if you have no self control and no self discipline. So when I think of male toxicity, and I was trying to look for some notes because I just talked about this not too long ago with a few people, and there's parts of male toxicity. It's men not wanting to be called soft. That's male toxicity. The intimacy that males don't have with lots of stuff because they're called sensitive. There's them not caring about women at all, having a very demeaning view of women. So when you think of male toxicity, it's a lot of things. It includes also men's power or perceived power of superiority over women, other men. 6'2" dudes over 5'6" guys. There's something there. Trust me, it's too. There are those moments that it's like, I don't care who you are. Now, after UFC, I really pay attention to 5'2" dudes because I've seen them dudes whoop up on people. So male toxicity has a lot to do with relationship. Now, you use the word honesty. There's something about personal truth and facts. I'm going through a situation right now where I have an ex-girlfriend that threatened a oh gosh, I forgot when a restraining order. One reason, none. Like I did nothing to warrant it, other than she got mad that she thought I socially shamed her on social media, which I didn't. But she got mad, thought she was, and threatened that. I did nothing. So the Deshaun Watson thing, it's like, wait a second, what is actually true, and what is her her personal truth? What are the facts, and what is his personal truth? It's a mess.
It really is, and it's sad to see because we're in the brown and black category, right? And another potential hero or ambassador for us goes down, and it just looks bad. My thing, or I shouldn't say looks bad, the optics are not great, right? Let me change the phrase of that a little bit. But then when I see someone like the mayor of New York, not the mayor, excuse me, the senator of New York refusing to leave. I just wonder if there's a double standard even within the male reigns, right?
All
Because
right.
with politics is different, and with sports figures it seems to be different.
No, so I'll give you another lens for this. Let's take golf. We know our boy Tiger Woods. We know what happened. We also know that the media gears more toward one color as the sport does. We know that Tiger has a penis, and we know that most of these other dudes, I don't know if there's any transgenders on the PGA Tour, but we'll say most of everybody else has penises. Those some of the non-black, non-brown, non-yellow players are penis too. They're doing the same stuff, but the Phil Mickelsons don't get called out for it. No one says anything about that because they wanted to see Tiger go down. So, and NFL no different. Deshaun Watson, there's many other white players who have some of the same stuff going on, but they have more power, more clout, and the media would rather pay attention to Deshaun than some of these other players. So it's happening out there. It's just where the media chooses to point the fingers.
That's a really good point.
But as we know, as men, if we grow up, let's say for a doctor, for example, you grow up the smartest kid in every grade. You grow up going into college, the smartest kid. You go up in medical school, smartest kid. You go out in the world and you're getting paid a couple million a year. There are some things that you think you deserve because you did all this work. Some guys think it's women. Some guys think it's boats. Some guys think it's a bunch of other stuff. So there's a part of entitlement that shows up too. I don't know what what Deshaun's relationship with his entitlement, but he might think he deserves it.
That's
you don't
true.
know.
That's true. Hold on.
What I don't want to see
tell me.
Is it? What I don't want to see is people talking about addiction, like, oh, he's a sex addict. Like they did with Tiger, like they do with any other dudes. It's like, wait a second. He enjoys sex and he has a limitless supply. I don't know how many guys could say no to the opportunities that those guys get. Pointing at this one right here, I couldn't imagine.
Trust me. Listen, we have both been in the arena. I ain't got no Ferrari. I ain't got no condo, and I did pretty well. I could only imagine if I was a multi-millionaire, I would have to have the sickest legal team on the planet.
Sure. And then the worst part, and this is with Deshaun, let's say that a couple of those accusations are true. Let's say a couple other ones are on the fence, and let's say a couple other ones are just way out there, like my ex, way out there, not true. But if there were a couple other people saying, hey, he was like this and this like that, you might believe her stuff. So I'm not sure about the number of what they are, but I do know that there's he put himself in a position that put himself to be at risk. And I will always do this. I think of Mike Tyson. I think of the people who did not have the right people surrounding him to love on him so much to protect him from this stuff. He does not have the team around him to protect him, because if they did, he wouldn't be in this mess right now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Hold on one second. I want to plug in my Ethernet just so that we can get even better signal. Hold on.
Yeah, that's fine. And while he's going to do that, he said he stepped in the arena. He kind of did. He was all right.
So potentially staying in that same vein, right? Because we were talking about not having the right people around you, right? And it's weird on how much times I talk to people and I can remember so much without writing a lot down. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I do remember back to one of the conversations that we had during one of the shows that we did. And you talked about two different mindsets, right? One
Mhm.
was lack, one was abundance,
Right.
right?
So scarcity and abundance.
Correct, right? And then um, another one, or maybe another theory that I remember too, was creating your way out of, right?
Yeah. So drama mindset, empowerment mindset. So
Right.
those are four, and those are mental models. So when I say these, that's a tool in my toolbox. It's a mental model that I can go to. So whenever I think of, man, I don't have enough, and I want to flip that switch to thinking, well, wait a second, I have an abundance. I'll stay on this X. I could be, oh, woe is me. I don't have this. I have that. It's like, well, wait a second. This is a golden opportunity to find somebody else that's a better fit. It's an abundance amount of women in San Diego and around the world. So that is something that's just like a light switch. And then the other one was drama versus empowerment. Drama triangle is where Deshaun is right now. It's chaos. He needs to be saved. People are persecuting him, and he's saying he's a victim. They're saying they're victims. So it's victim, persecutor, and rescuer. That is nothing about creation at all.
And so, as I try to tie those things together, I just got back from New York, and actually, before I say that, I wanted to touch a little bit on the female thing. I think a large portion, to speak to what you were saying, was when we're with the significant other, whatever that is. You always come from a lack place. Oh, I can't find someone better. Or this is the best I could get. And so that mind frame really, really screws you up. What I wanted to tie in with the Deshaun stuff and what we were mentioning, these different things. I just got back from New York City, and I could bet. I won't make a heavy bet, but I'll probably make a good bet that Deshaun probably came from the inner city. Granted, he grew up as an athlete, which he might have had some more opportunities that some other people didn't have. But going back to the hood, I couldn't believe how many people were in the thought process of lack. And you came into my brain right away, and like it was an instant spark in my brain that I got to completely change the way that I think. And
Mm-hmm.
out of that came from me wanting to go sober, came from me wanting to do more, and it was just so crazy because it almost like you spoke to me in the back. And it was like, this is what I was talking about. And I was tripped out because when I was there, I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
When I
So
was in New York,
I love that you're enlightened. So the state that you're in is called enlightened. And you're enlightened. And from being enlightened, you become aware that, wait a second, how does a community of people, how do they become addicted to scarcity? Well, if I'm this puppeteer and I'm thinking, how do I make this community become addicted to being less than, addicted to scarcity, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, you attack the ego. You go to sending messages that you aren't good enough, you don't have enough, you won't be enough. You suck the resources out of the community. You give the community bad education. You don't give the community grocery stores. You give them bad food. So now you're putting bad food into your system and feeling bad. And by the way, one of the things I do want to touch on is the idea of bad boy. Bad boy is something that I was talking about in the last couple of weeks in the Saturday Men's Circle. And bad boy is a frame of negative feedback to little boys and grown men. Now, of course, you haven't heard bad boy as a man, or hopefully you haven't, but you do have it in your head when your lady is disappointed in you. She don't say bad boy and smack you on the nose with a newspaper like a dog, but she will make you feel that, hey, I'm disappointed in you, and you feel bad. So that whole community feeling bad, when you start having some good happen, you get addicted to the abundance of the good. Deshaun, abundance of good feminine energy or attention around him. Couldn't stop.
yeah, no, it's really a slippery slope. It was funny when you were saying bad boy as like mischievous. I was
Okay.
I was always gonna flip it on its head where I was having a conversation with my missus and a couple other people and speaking about how um particular women enjoy the bad boy period. And
Perfect.
they kind of set themselves up for some of the stuff that they end up complaining about in the end.
Right. So let's do this because you didn't know. You said, "Hey, you're gonna let me guide it. You don't know what's
Yeah,
gonna
of
happen."
course. Let's go.
Here's the shocker because I'm gonna pull this into a pseudo therapy session.
Right.
When is the first time? Now think back, take some breaths. When's the first time you ever heard somebody say "bad boy" to you?
In a negative or positive connotation?
Negative connotation to tear you down, not to build you up.
I would probably say, digging back, I would probably say, well, hold on. I would probably say maybe coworkers who's seen me being flirtatious and they were like, that's a bad boy right there. But not saying like rock star bad boy, more
All
so.
right, so let me
Good.
restate this. Let me restate this in a different way because this has been something I've been dancing with people because they're not grabbing to what
You're
the,
trying to
the
say.
the
Got
soul of it is.
it. Got it.
The soul of it is as little boys.
Right. I was going to say my mom would have been the one that I remembered the most. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's where it was. Is the first time you started hearing negative feedback that had you feeling bad. Now they don't have to say bad boy,
All right.
but in essence, when you're feeling bad because you receive negative feedback and it's in your body, you said your mom. A lot of the men that I have come in contact, including myself, the female divine feminine has been the one giving that negative feedback. And then for me firsthand, I never heard it from my father. My father didn't state much of any feedback, good or bad.
Right. Me too. Me too.
Right. So guess what I got used to? My first 10 years of life. How did you have more male teachers or female teachers in school?
Female.
All right. Most people do. In the 60s and 50s, there was more male teachers. In the 70s and 80s, more female. So now all of a sudden, you've got Dustin from 1 to 10 getting negative feedback from women, from 10 to 20, probably the same thing. From moms, from aunties, from school teachers, probably from girls. Hey, no, don't pull my pigtails. Then from 20 to 30, you started getting that feedback in your jobs. Now, could have been from males, could have been from female. Okay, both. Now, from 30 to 40, what's your relationship? The end of the day, when men start paying attention to how they receive negative feedback, bad boy, and figuring out how to turn that feedback into something that's fascinating and innovating to them instead of irritating and desperation. Because a lot of guys to this day have wives that give them negative feedback and they feel like they're 5 years old again. And they didn't know why. Because they've been getting negative feedback this whole time.
It's almost dangerous too because at that point, right, it almost borderlines putting you in depression.
It
Right?
it magnifies depression.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you this. I'll give you a quick story. Not saying who the person was, but there was one of the guys that said, "Hey, this morning I just experienced bad boy." And we're like, "What happened?" He says, "I went out to go get breakfast for the family. Everybody, my wife, all my kids. I come in the house, and the first thing my wife says is, 'Why didn't you take me with you?'" And he sat there like you don't see all this food, you don't have to cook, you don't. And you know what he did? He cowered, felt bad about himself. And that happens every day if men do not pay attention to feedback and how they receive it. My ex and I are more ex and I now because I've been talking about this and realized for 1 year during COVID, I had received so much negative feedback that it just went over my head because I'm like, she'll get over it and this, that, and the other. But some of that stuff sticks and it does make you feel bad.
It hurts, bro.
It hurts. It hurts. I'm glad you said that because
hurts.
most guys won't even say that. And then
I'm being honest, baby, because I felt
right,
it. Everything you're talking about, I'm all in the building with all that stuff.
right. Well, and then another part of this is when you are not in relationship. Again, let's talk about how we get in relationship. If negative feedback was a girl, and her name is Tiffany, and we name negative feedback, what's your relationship to Tiffany? A lot of guys, when they hear negative feedback, get angry, get sad. Some dudes figured out how to shift to where, okay, I'm going to take some of that. Like there's this rule of called 3%, 97% in arguments. And what it is if you could just own your 3%. A lot of relationships do not know, too many people are like not owning any of it. They just want to put 100 on her or 100 on him. But the moment you say, okay, I got 3% of this, if you own 3% of it, it'll just bring you down with a higher state to being in relationship with people. And so yeah, that's something was just showing up for me.
So I wanted to ask you, okay, so this obviously happens to a lot of people. It could potentially happen on both sides, right? Because you
It
can.
is both sides.
I
Yeah.
don't want it to just be focused on the men, because women get a version of that too, with the bad girl, right? And then
Perfect.
eventually being a bad girl later on might be hot, but it might
Right.
not be understood. But before you jump on that, I wanted you to approach. I won't forget. I want it from the dude's perspective. How do you change that narrative? Do you have to talk to her more? Because I've tried to be more of a grown up, but it seems like it's very difficult to get them out of the mold as well. When you're trying to say, "Hey, hun, I felt sad or hurt when I tried to do something good, and the only thing you heard was that I didn't take you with me."
Right, right. And there's a book on this called Thanks for the Feedback. And and the premise of the book is thought I could see it right behind me. But the premise of the book is learning how to give feedback in a positive way. And I learned how to do this. And if my ex or any of my exes listen, they'll be like, oh, well, he still didn't do it well with me. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But no matter what,
Yes.
the premise of it is real simple. And anytime you give feedback, there are three steps to take. The first step is, hey, I love that about this situation. Second step is, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. And the last one, what if you'd have done this? That's how to give feedback. We'll use my friend's example. Walks in, what if his wife would have said, I love the fact that you just went out and got breakfast for the family. And then she says, well, I didn't get that you didn't ask me to go because I would love to have been with you because I spent some time with you. Hey, maybe next time you think you could ask me so we can hang out because I want to get out the house too. Having that much presence other than why didn't you take me? Like seriously?
Do you think? And I'm struggling with this, and I know a few friends of mine are too. Women have a tendency of biting their lip, right? And not saying things in the moment, or not being able to be constructive in the moment. And then they hold that, and then it comes out later in a different way. Is this a maybe a potential learning opportunity for them too? Like when you're talking about, being critical, but understanding how to be critical and when to be critical.
So let's talk about relationship again. Let's talk about relationship with judgment. So my relationship with judgment is secure, meaning that judging can be good and judging can be bad. So I'm right in the center. If one doesn't start in the center of their relationship with judgment and they just think judgment is bad, guess what they're constantly thinking about? That everybody's judging them and then they're judging everybody. Again, this is recent information, so I'm letting this out. My ex says she's the least judgmental person in the world. And I'm thinking, like, I'm shocked. Like, how could you say you're the least judgmental person in the world? You're yelling at breakfast. You get up in the morning, you're yelling at breakfast. What did breakfast do? So it's once we get in relationship to what judgment is and knowing that it is good and it is bad. And that's when conversations get to be had. Like, for example, when when I have tried to get in better relationship with negative feedback, I'd ask clarifying questions like, "Hey, what has you really thinking that?" I had a situation where I was told that my social media behavior was terrible, and I'm like, what makes you believe that? What have you seen? What proof is there? And by that time, it's gone because there's really nothing there. It's just insecurity thinking, trying to hit on some Instagram somethings. I have no idea.
Before we dial in a little bit more on the bad girl, I wanted to ask that question now that you bring that up as well. are we entering a space that it's even more difficult, right? Because at least if I could talk to you and I could give you the feedback, or I could say something to you, you understand the content and the context.
Hmm.
Now with text, the context is thrown out all over the place because it almost makes you seem like you're yelling all the time because you're trying to shorten the sentence because you only have 162 characters to use to begin with, let's say, for example.
I'm going to tell you a rule. I feel like Bill Maher, new rule. I put a new rule in place about a month ago. And at that time, with my girl, now an ex, anytime she texted, called, or emailed, or left a voicemail, I never read any of them. I called her and I told her, I am never reading a text again. I'm never listening to a voicemail again. I'm never reading an email again because what words you're typing in, I don't know what they mean. And if I'm already thinking I'm in trouble all the time, I'm a bad boy, I'm gonna read it and I see your name. I'm like, here we go again, principal's office. So here's what the rule is: act like a pager, and that's all I am. I said every one of those is a alert to me to look at my pager and just call you for conversation. I don't want any more of this texting. That's not a conversation. Voicemail is not a conversation. Even Marco Polo. Marco Polo, that's kind of a cool video technology. Do you know what that is?
No, no, no. Please elaborate because I'm fascinated with all this new stuff we're doing.
Oh, you're done.
I think I
You're
heard
you're
about
you're done.
yeah,
You're
because you
done.
know I'm a junkie for this
No,
stuff.
look, you're done. When you get into Marco Polo technology, you're going to be like, wow, this technology is video back and forth conversation. So that one kind of works a lot better because you can see the person, they talk to you,
Right,
and it's
expressions. Yes, body
yeah,
language. Right.
yeah. But like I said, I just went into the habit that said anytime I see anything from you that dings, rings, or beeps,
Vibrates.
vibrates, anything, I'm just going to call you. And it worked for a couple weeks, but
I,
then
I
it
think that's
stopped.
brilliant. I think that's brilliant.
Well, yeah, but it stopped because what I realized and what I've learned, she used that technology to vent and to harass and to let it out without me being able to defend myself, have a conversation with you, nothing. So she left me one of the reasons why she's more of an ex because she left 33 text messages. 33. And I'll tell you, if I did new rule, I took a picture of 33 and you couldn't see it was from her. And I put it on social media and I'm like, hey, new rule. If I haven't responded to you by 3 texts, you don't need to send another 30. I'll get back to you. And do you know how many people in social media was like, yeah, they get it. Because when somebody's in their loop and their anger and their sadness, whatever it is, they just keep on pushing. I got a 23-minute recording over 45 minutes of being mad and venting. This technology has allowed people not to soothe themselves in a caring way and to connect with people. It's just now you can just lash out and you can't stop it unless you block them.
Dang, that's crazy. That you say all of that because first of all, love the pager concept because all you got to do is text me, call me, and we can have the conversation. Plus, I mean, like right now, I think you fall kind of in my same vein too. I don't want to text like 20 sentences. I don't
Nothing.
like, yo, hit me up, even if it's a dude. I want to talk to you. We could
I
literally
don't text my friends.
right 2 minute conversation. We banged it all out. I'll see you next weekend. Right?
Dude,
This is the
I
text
do
is
not
getting
text
so
my
much done.
guy friends.
Me neither.
Like I have a friend, Eric, from 18 years old. We've been best friends all these years. And people are like, man, how did you guys keep your friendship going? We talk to each other. And we don't have an expectation that says, where's this friendship going? Where's this friend? What's in it for me? We just exist and care and
I
call.
I think I only have maybe 2 or 3 in that same vein, and because they've been that long, is because we talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And to back it up even further, right? I'm gonna throw a little shade real quick. It's never like the conversation like, yo, you didn't call me in a month. Yo, you haven't called me in a year. Yo, he's been so. As soon as the phone is picked up, it's like, yo, what's good, my God?
My man.
We good.
My man.
And it's like, it never left. The story was just on pause. It's like when you play some of those great chess games and they go on for years. We just take off right where the pieces were left off at. Versus being like, getting all emotional, right? About me not talking to homeboy for however long.
Okay, so I'm gonna test this one out, and we'll see if this works. We had not coordinated this test yet.
Yeah, tell me.
All right, so if you told me that you're getting a testosterone shot tomorrow, and then you told me you're gonna get the vaccine on Friday, okay? I knew these facts about you, so I call you, and I'm like, hey man, I thought you were supposed to get that testosterone shot at 9. You're like, oh no, I'm getting at 1:00. And I say, hey, I was just thinking about this. Have you thought about the fact that you're getting a testosterone shot this week and the vaccine later in the week, and that there might be some adverse reaction? Have you thought about that? What would you say?
I would probably say no.
Okay, perfect.
Right. If
that's a viable answer.
Yeah.
Now, what if you did? What if you did check into it? What would you say?
I looked into it, and I'd probably throw it up to you. It'd be like, hey, what are your thoughts potentially?
Boom. Okay, so right there, you said, I didn't look at it, or hey, man, thanks for looking out. What did you find? And that's it. A different scenario with a woman. She's getting a Botox shot, not a testosterone, getting a vaccine at the end of the week. Same conversation. Hey, what, I thought you were supposed to get the Botox shot. No, not to 1:30. Oh, have you ever thought about, like, you're getting the vaccine this week and you're getting that? Have you thought about any adverse reactions? Her first statement.
She's going to start spazzing.
She went off. She went off. She's like, don't tell me what to do with my body. Do not tell me what to do with my body. And I was like, what?
Oh my God.
I'm like what? And
I could have bet money on that fucking answer.
Dude, but for me, it was me showing love, right, showing care.
Yes, you were empathetic to her situation.
For sure. For sure. My empathy is not impaired.
Right.
It's not. So I'll add a little more to this to the story.
Yeah, please. This is hilarious. Go ahead.
Some people are also on antidepressants. So you got some antidepressants in your system. Now you're gonna get some Botox, and then now you're gonna get the vaccine. Have you seen any studies? Have you Googled it? Have you talked to your doctor? Have you anything? Now you really care about somebody's mental health. It's like, this isn't about trying to control anybody's body. This is about caring about them and loving on them. No different than loving. What if I would have told you that with the testosterone shots and the vaccine? And if I thought you were on antidepressants, I would have said the same thing, because I'm loving on you. Women and men, this shit sometimes just doesn't work.
So now, in this vein, because I'm starting to maybe think that there's some parallels, right? Let's go back a step and let's talk about the bad girl reference and some of the data that you've collected and some of the stuff that you've spoken to people, because I think they get that same kind of thing that potentially might lead them to the place of losing their shit.
Dude, you are bringing this full circle perfectly. So when having conversations with men and women about when was the first time you heard negative feedback, most women don't hear bad girl from their fathers. Most women hear some type of negative feedback from their mothers. Still maybe not bad girl, but you get the feeling that you're bad and you're feeling bad. So then, again, let's go from 1 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40. From 1 to 10, you might get your mom saying, bad girl, keep your legs closed, keep your dress down, all the little things that mothers may say. From 10 to 20 might be those same things. From 20 to 30, now you're in corporate America, now you're a mom, now you're this, now you're that. Now all of a sudden, the machine of marketing, oh, wait a second, the machine of marketing kicked in from 10 to 20, telling you you're not skinny enough, telling you you're not this, you're not that, I look like Barbie, blah, blah, blah. by 20 to 30, you're getting some money, getting some scratch. Now you got to get fake breasts. Now you're getting Botox. Now you're getting body enhancements. Why? Because you don't think you're good. Because you feel bad. Bad girl. So this idea of getting addicted to feeling bad and less than and scarcity has one hyper fucking sensitive, like hypersensitive to feedback. Then a brother like me who is loved on his girl. Hey, it pains me. I might sound like I'm all this, that, and other. I'm in pain, but I wasn't trying to break you down. But you took it as I was trying to break you down. And men, more women than men feel. I got books behind me, daring greatly, all this stuff. It's books written because so many women feel less than, and it's because the machine is designed to make women feel less than more than men feeling less than.
Yeah, two things that I want to say. I've also seen men in that same vein where if you do call them up or do talk to them, they lose their mind and they're defensive. But that's more of an 80-20 rule. I would say that most dudes on the 80 front are the two answers: no, and then yes, and then what you got. What I wanted to tie into all of this that I find interesting too as you talk. Actually, before I bring that in, I want to say one of the things that I heard about you say before to me in the past, right, when it came to relationships, was how is this person stopping you from being you?
Yeah.
And
So let me talk about that a little bit. There's two vibrations to have. There's a vibration, I'm fascinated about this world. I love to, I choose to, I desire to. Those are the verbal expressions. I love to, I choose to, I desire to. Each expression is tied to something. The or I love to, I choose to, I desire to. The I desire to is tied to self-esteem. So we do things so that we hold ourselves in high regard. That's what self-esteem is. Cat Williams made the best joke ever. How am I messing with your self-esteem? It has nothing to do with me. That's why it's called self-esteem. It's you. so, 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 so self-esteem is tied. That's what it's tied to. It's tied to what I desire. Then what I choose to do is tied to self-fulfillment. What fills my soul? So it's the choices that we make as people, as men, to fill our soul. That I love to is self-actualization. That is absolutely who you are. And right now, I love this. You know why? This is me. I'm talking about my current pain, talking about my ex. I'm not saying no names, but it's me. And I have no fear because the more that I take this shield off, the more that I take this mask off, and really, I mean, my chest not big as much as it used to be, but to put my chest out, it's just me. So yeah, you're right. The more that we get around people who do not love on us for the love that we are, then they're just trying to get you to feel the other side of it, which is irritation. I want to be in fascination up here. Irritation sounds like have to, ought to, need to, want to. Scarcity. That's the whole place down there. I'm trying to get other people to pay attention to me. I'm insecure. I'm afraid this is going to go away, and that's the space that people play in, and a lot of them don't know that they're even there. You don't have the consciousness.
yeah, I think out of a lot of the things that I gotten from you, when you asked me that question, it probably took a long time for me really to hear it. But over, let's say, the 10 years that I've been up and down, left and right, it's really started to ring and come more full circle, especially at the 4.0 version of the data
Mm-hmm.
update.
I like that you're using that, because watch what happens to you when you pay attention to yourself as if you're technology. When you pay attention to yourself as you've got bugs, you've got fixes, you've got updates. Don't ever let anybody tell you about the 3.9 version. Oh, you used to be like that. If I'm Atari, why do I care about what I used to be as a joystick? Why do I care? Like, So there's a point of that, of loving on you, to know that you're always evolving. You are nature. Your next version, your next day, don't have to have nothing to do with last year's version, the other versions. I'll tell you this, me being honest about my 3.1 version to my 4.7 version of dating. I've never been married, never had kids. I've had a lot of collections and accumulations because I've had a lot of nice abundance of jobs, of homes, and this and the other. And I've also had a lot of relationships and multiple relationships. Not saying I'm bad or good, not saying I'm Deshaun Watson, but yet and still, if I tell you that that's how I used to be and I'm not that way anymore, and you're stuck in that, and you're going to make this now bad on some old stuff that I've let go of, fixed that bug, updated that software, that's where people can't let, they have to let you be you by you knowing that you're not that old version.
You know, what rings really true with me when you were talking about mask and shield and armor, right? I remember I was with someone and we ended up going to couples counseling. And I remember the counselor talking about your weapons and how you use that against each other. And I'm really glad to have had met you and have had other people in my life to have realized that now I want to come into the building nude. I don't, I,
Oh,
and at the point, like, I'm like, I need to just be focused on me. And that sounds a little selfish, but at the end of the day, I'm like, the more that I'm not focusing on that is the more that I'm not being who I need to be a better version of me. Right. And sometimes people get in your way. And I think everybody across the board is accountable in this department, whether it be men or women, because to take the word toxic, toxic can go in a bunch of different jars, and it can fit a bunch of different ways. Now, I know you're probably going to jump in a second, but another thing I wanted to tie in before I was talking about that was the common theme in Bad Boy and in Bad Girl, right? Has to do with foundation. And foundation usually is mom and dad. I wanted to gather your thoughts on how difficult it is, not just from a woman's perspective or a male's perspective, but let's say a child's perspective, going from that 1 to 30, not having the dual parent, right? Because you're supposed to get a little tough from pops, a little soft from mom. And that works both ways when it comes to raising a kid. And now, when you have Bad Boy being implemented from a woman's perspective, because that's how you mentioned it, and then when you say Bad Girl, mom was disappointed in her daughter, and women and mom and daughter dynamics are extremely difficult. And I learned that now. You know something that I said before you jump in? I was talking to my missus about this. I was saying, when I used to date girls and they would be like, people would, the normal conversation with a woman would be, how's your family, blah, blah. And I would never pay attention to that. But now looking back at it, that is what I like to call the cheat code or the hack of understanding of who you are, because this person potentially made you. And if I'm not paying attention to the dynamic of your brother and you, the sister and you, your mom and you, your dad and you, I'm not really listening and paying attention to what's really going on, because then in 6 months, when the honeymoon is over, those are the people I'm going to be dealing with.
all right. So you have a lot there. So
I know, there's a lot.
I'm gonna unpack a little couple of these
Please.
things. There's a concept called pain body, and pain body is the collective heartbreak, the collective disappointments, the collective pain, emotional pain that we have inside of us, and that builds through the years. Let's just say, as children, we were getting negative feedback about how smart or dumb we are. Let's say how dumb we are. And that negative feedback, this is what a pain body looks like to me. For those that aren't listening, or those are listening and not seeing, I just drew some one-eyed tail with some horns on it, and that's what my pain body looks like.
Looks like something out of Monsters Inc., the film.
That's what somebody else said that too.
Yes.
Somebody said that was a Monsters Inc. sketch. I just sketched it freehand.
Right.
But and then somebody else said that looked like it was third grade. So oh well. but for me, my pain body was not being smart. My pain body was never really knowing how to be good in school, and it just kept going to high school, to undergrad. Then in grad, I blossomed, and that was gone. But then I still have it in me, that little pain body of when somebody says something to me that has me feeling dumb. And that's my work to do. However, just like you brought up, you said, hey, what if you paid more attention to your parents? If you're single mother, single father, or married, separated, whatever. So I drew this. So I drew, wait a second, my mom and dad, they have pain bodies. What is my mom and dad's pain body? What's my mom's pain body? My mom might be the same as mine. Didn't think she was smart. My dad might be, that he wished that he would have gone to finish high school or finish college or whatever, or start college. So when we dig into the pain bodies and try to relate to our parents on what pain that they were in, it helps us understand the pain that they passed on, because that's what also happens. They unconsciously pass that on, because if they don't think they're smart and then they start saying you're not smart, or they don't think they're pretty and then they start saying you're not pretty, then next thing you know, you both have the same issues. So there is a lot of value to paying attention to your parents. Now I have one more sketch, but this isn't anything crazy. It's just a family tree. And just think of your family tree. If you said, hey, who passed down this insecurity? Who passed down this anger management issue? Because anger is genetically coded. So it's passed from generation to generation to generation, just as well as calmness is. So if you pay more attention to where you came from, you know who you are.
Yeah, no, that's extremely profound. It's so funny for this to be not scripted is I love how we have already charts and shit for the stuff that we weren't even supposed to talk about.
That's just me being prepared. That's just me and my work.
No, I know.
Like right now, I'm in the lab. You see these books.
I got you. I see,
right. So
brother.
I'm in the lab. So all I can do is just, if I was a DJ, my records are right here. I can play them.
Right, I know, and you're standing up too, so I get it, and that's why I think not only is it impactful for my audience to get an opportunity to hear you, for you to be doing more podcasts and be more available. I was even talking to you a little bit about the Clubhouse thing. I
Yeah.
wanted to switch gears a little bit because I got into this Clubhouse and I was jumping around a bunch of different rooms, and again, you came to my mind because I know you're somebody who's untethered by the bullshit. Let's just say, right, and you think a lot outside the box. So when we're talking about, and it's perfect because it ties into everything. When we're talking about, let's say, self-esteem, when we're talking about criterias, when we're talking about self-image, right? The way social media has us tied up, right, is you need to get the likes, right? And you need to get the thumbs up. And now you start to evaluate, like, let's say you do the most dynamic post you've ever done in your life and you only get 8 hearts. And now you go into the criticalness of yourself and you say, dang, maybe my art's not fire. Maybe I'm not putting it out right. You get all into the self-conscious stuff, right? Another thing that people start to evaluate on whether their shit is hot or not, or they're hot or not, is by followers, right? So now I got into this space. I'm trying to be a creator, right? And so there's measurements. Measurement would say likes. Measurement would say thumbs up. Measurement would be retweet. Measurement would be following, right? And I'm here and I'm breaking my head against the wall. And I'm like, how do I get to 10K? And then in my mind already, I'm like, all right, if I get to 10K, how do I get to 25? So on and so forth. I got into this room with this young lady. Shout out to MacGyver. She spells it a little differently. She's a really, really interesting young lady. You would dig her, from Brooklyn. She designed her first pair of Nike Air Jordans by herself. She made them from scratch just because she wanted to learn how to make kicks, right? That's not the point. The point was is that she said, okay, I have 12,000 followers. Now what? Now what in the sense of what do I do? Now what in how am I sewing into my 25,000 followers? And so I took that a step further for myself and I was like, well, I only have 350, but am I engaging with all 350? Here I am trying to get 10,000 and 25,000, and I'm not even bubbling up to 300. Right? Because if I can maximize 10% of those relationships, those could be potential business partners, those could be potential leads, those could be people that I could network with. And I wanted you to speak a little bit more to that for you because I know you don't chase any of that stuff, but I thought it was profound on how she said, man, like potentially if you have 10 followers, you should be talking to those people every day versus trying to chase the million.
All right. So a few things that show up. The first thing I caught that you said you're trying to be a creator. Okay. So I don't know if you knew that you said that. What kind of kicks do you have on right now?
I have Nike's flip flops on, but usually it'd be
Oh,
Nike something.
okay. So,
I usually wear Nikes anything. So
okay.
usually
So,
basketball sneakers because we come
right,
from the same vein. You know what I mean?
right. So if you would have had a, a shoe on that you would have tied up,
Hmm.
you would not have said, I tried to put my shoes on today.
Right.
You're already a creator. So for anybody that out there is talking like I'm trying to be a creator, everybody's a creator right now. And put on a notepad, put on a note card, a post-it note. I am a creator, and post it up everywhere because you already are. So take away that mindset. I'm trying. Okay, from there, I have 50,000 plus people who follow me on LinkedIn. I don't even know how many now on Facebook and on it. Nothing probably much on Instagram because I didn't really use Instagram that much, but let's throw 1,000 in or whatever. So I have about an influence of, let's say 60,000 that I have done nothing to get. Like I'm not posting videos, I'm not anything with intention of like, all right, let me get some more people to follow me. Because the more people who follow me, then I have maybe this idea that I have to be something for them. And I don't, other than me. So I've never used the 50,000 plus on LinkedIn yet. And I've got people wanting to buy my audience. Like, no, like, how did you do it? I just had a cool name and that's it. And now I got all these people. So this idea of relationship, because you were like, oh, well, if I got 350, I'm not really intimate with them. You didn't use the word intimate. And that's what if I told you that your superpower is intimacy? What if I said my superpower was intimacy? How many followers could you get with being really related to
All of
people?
them. Right.
All of them. All of them. Like if you want to talk about Clubhouse and we say, hey, the power of intimacy, and we just talk about that. I mean, I'm almost to try that today because I have never done Clubhouse. But if you're like, hey, let's get on Clubhouse and talk about the power of intimacy with men and women, it's all about relationship. What are we in relationship to? Relationship. One of the things that I failed with my ex, if she ever heard this, I'd be like, babe, I failed on you here. My relationship to her anger, to her disappointment. Again, as I told you before, to be secure in relationship to something, it has to be positive and negative. So my relationship to her anger, negative. Could never really relate to it to where there was something positive about it. That's my development. That's my developing. And a lot of people, and I'll give you this one quick one too. One with my companies, how we rate employees is they're developing, they're meeting expectations, or they're exceeding. There's no grade of like you ain't shit. It's everybody's developing.
Right.
So I'm developing.
No, yeah, I knew you would have pretty much have that point of view, and definitely right away, I'm like, I need to put that up somewhere. I am a creator because I am out there taking risk and putting myself out there because I think for the longest time that was the fear, right? Well, that's another thing too. I mean, how powerful fear is. I know the last one we did was the ego. Maybe this one will be named intimacy, but fear, man, plays so much, especially the fear that you get from your parents.
What's your relationship to fear? Fear is this fine girl. Now make fear an image of this fine girl. And again, we know your girl is fine, but and again, what's your relationship with her? And that's where you start.
Right.
And is it negative? Is it positive? Do I use fear as an energy source to do whatever? In golf, in any sport, I eat fear up. In public speaking, I eat that up. And if I could pull it out real quick, and I'm not sure if I could grab it, but there's this image that I put up, and I was like, man, what does it look like to really eat up fear? and it was, and I don't see it, but it's the Pac-Man. You know, it's the Pac-Man with the little energy pellets. It's like, oh man, that's what that pellet is fear, and it's gonna make me bigger. And even in the game, I haven't played the game in so long. Yeah, here it is. So again, another little bad sketch, but
It works.
right, but it works. So, but that's what that time, what time it is. It's like, how do I look at fear? My relationship with fear, does it make me get bigger or does it make me shrink? NCAA, Illinois got scared. They got scared and they could not get away from it. Super Bowl, you saw fear in Mahomes' face. Where was Brady? No fear. I
Cool.
don't care what anybody said. If they said he had fear in him, that dude was cool as a cucumber.
I think I heard a story one time. I forget what game it was, but at halftime he was sleeping.
Right.
Right? Like that's how cool I am. I'm gonna go back
Right.
out there
And
and think.
ball.
You know, I think for me it's strange, and again with the 4.0 version and trying to integrate and do new things and
You
change.
will never forget this. For the rest of your life, you will never forget me. Because every year you'll be like, okay, I'm 9.1. I'm trying to get that 1.0.0.
Right. And being able, like, for example, being in the restaurant industry so long, and let's say it's packed and it's 10 deep, and I'm the calmest guy on the planet. But outside of my comfort zone, I need to figure out, and I have been um, basically changing that into a newer model and bringing it over, so that I can use that same superpower, like you said earlier, to do some of the things. I mean, I think now my superpower in that regard is that I'm not afraid of no, right? So if I
Yeah, you've never been afraid of no. So you're again, let's go back to relationship.
right,
When we're talking about intimacy, what is your relationship to no? You've never really been afraid of no, and I've ever been around you.
and for me, and I'm glad, like I was saying with the, the 4.0 version, trying to embrace some of those strengths, because to me now when I hear no, I'm like, that means you can't do it.
Right. Yeah. It's like
I
that.
don't even have it. And so it's just interesting on how I'm trying to pull some, because now I'm switching lanes. I think, there is an opportunity for restaurants to change, but it might not be for me anymore.
All
And
right. So I've got to stop you here
talk to me.
because the language that you're using is not powerful enough.
Okay. All right.
And
Look me up.
I'm going to share a couple of things with you. I'm reading a book called The Art of Impossible. And I
Okay.
think it's by Stephen Kotler. I think that's what it's called. But it's about the kind of cats who love to do impossible stuff. Now, impossible stuff, how many no's do you think you hear when somebody says that's impossible?
All of them.
All of them. All of them. When you're saying, hey, let's go to the moon, Kennedy's saying, let's go to the moon. It's like, no.
I have the technology for that, bro.
Right. Yeah. So the relationship that one has with no, and if you're fueled by impossible, I am. I'm fueled by impossible, always have. I have so many stories about people saying no, and when they say no, I'm on to something that you're not on to. So that's the first thing that I was thinking about. Damn, I lost the second one because
You were talking
saying,
about some of the languages that I was using when I was talking about maybe transferring skills.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I got you, bro.
So here's the other point, and you may not know this, and you may not be paying attention to nature like you could be. Get into nature and notice change. Notice evolving. Notice decaying. Notice how growth and decay works. When you talk about another lane, you are not describing your journey well at all. How I would describe your journey is the 3.2 version of you was a caterpillar. When you got to 3.789, those are the cocoon years. 4.0 is you being a butterfly. You are no longer on the ground anymore. Hey, you know the ground stuff, but you're not on the ground anymore, i.e. restaurant. I know that ground stuff. I know that restaurant stuff. Now I'm flying. When I remember meeting you, I thought you were going to be Jerry Maguire. I thought you were going to be the super sports agent for everybody. Now, is that when I met you?
Yes, of course. I still remember that. I'm leveraging those contexts now.
Right, right. So when you're flying, whatever that flying is, you can't really look back when you were a caterpillar. You're like, oh, I'm just changing lanes. No, you're not honoring the work to say you're just changing lanes.
I love it, bro. We gotta do this so much more, man. You got so much stuff, and that was the thing when I was listening again. Shout out to MacGyver and doing this clubhouse stuff. Sometimes hearing it and having these breakthroughs and tying it in back to the Sean when you were saying maybe you don't have the circles around you, but thank God for some of the platforms we have and some of the money that you can invest into yourself with books and talks and lectures and all these things. We can add more to the flavor.
For $15, you can take someone's 10,000 hours on working a topic for $15. Like, I don't say no to books as much as I used to because I was like, you know what? I got another shelf over here. You can't even see it. I have another stacked shelf. And I say yes, like Floetry. You don't even know that song, but I say yes.
I thought it was yours. I was like, damn, you need to TM that shit, boy. That's on fire right there. Well, I don't know because I be paying attention, right? And maybe not to nature, but I do pay attention to my surroundings. How is that hourglass looking? Is it about done? Because I'm sure
It's done.
right.
It's been done.
I figured. I know we got it. I got an hourglass right in front of me. I don't want to take too much more of your time. Thank you
All right.
so much. Let's get together on a phone call and do some more stuff. We'll
We
get you
will.
back in here in a couple of weeks. Thank you so much for managing the tough schedule that I had.
Yeah.
But I definitely enjoyed every single time we get on the mic together. Thanks so much, John.
All right, brother.
All right. And if anybody wants to get in contact with my man, what is it?
Backup CEO. Backup
backupceo.com.
CEO on Twitter, Facebook. Now, here's the funny part. This is week 3 of no social media. Like, I'm looking at my thing and I'm like, yeah, I haven't looked at social media for 2 straight weeks, and this is the start of the third. So at some point I'll get back in. But yeah,
Sure you will.
Backup CEO everywhere.
Well, thanks for always making time for me, my man. I'm always learning so much when we talk, even if it is for just an hour at a time.
Yeah.
You enjoy the rest of your evening, my friend.
Even on Clubhouse. I just remembered that. It's Backup CEO on Clubhouse too.
Got you. Perfect. All right, my man. You take care. Stay
right.
up. Everybody
Peace.
stay healthy and stay happy, right?
Fascinated.
Nice. Boom. All right. I got another show to do. I'll start
right.
chopping this fucker up. And
right.
I'll get it to you, and I'm gonna drop the other one too. I just been crazy busy, but I'm gonna get both of these things up so that you can use as tools. I know you really care about getting more folks. You already got everybody.
I just love the conversation.
Isn't it great?
Like, dude, it's flow. I mean, that's all it is. So, all right, boy, peace.
Yes, sir.